All right, let's bring in Georgia Congressman Andrew Clyde, a combat veteran and 28-year Navy veteran who had 3 combat deployments to Kuwait and Iraq, and Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, who has been sounding off a lot on Biden's bad Afghanistan exit. Thank you both for joining us. Congresswoman Van Duyne, I want to start with you. Give me your reaction to the president's comments earlier today.
I think it's ridiculous. I think you see a president who is not really in tune with reality. He's not listening to the director of intelligence. He's really not listening to his military. And the State Department is failing us time and time again. We're getting calls to our office from people who are stranded. And I'm going to use that word. They are stranded in Afghanistan right now. These are American citizens who cannot get out. You had a president who promised less than a week ago that he was going to make sure we weren't going to leave until they got them all out, and they're stuck there. And God knows what's going to happen to them. And we need to make sure our priority needs to be right now is making sure that we have all Americans that want to get out of Afghanistan out. And we can't even get the number. I mean, we've heard anywhere between 100 and 200, but that's not including their families. So when you hear that you have Americans there that don't want to leave, that is a lie. They want to leave, but they don't want to abandon their families there. We need to make sure that we're getting them help. And to have this deadline, this August 31st deadline that was not forced upon us, that all of a sudden Biden just agreed to. He just threw out that number without even figuring out how we were going to do it in an organized fashion, was completely an embarrassment. It was a humiliation, and we need to start building America's credibility back again. But under this administration, it has really, it is a horrible case, and it's awful for American citizens to be having to deal with this right now.
Congressman Clyde, the Biden administration has said it's not stranding anybody there, any Americans, but now it is owning up to it. Listen.
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded.
And we have Americans that get stranded in countries all the time.
90% of Americans in Afghanistan who wanted to leave were able to leave.
So, Congressman, that means 10% were left behind who wanted to get out. Is 10% acceptable?
No, 10% is not acceptable. Lindsay, Sean, thank you for having me. You know, this is a complete disgrace. You know, I want to read to you one of the texts that I got. You know, it says, the evacuation process is winding down and we are almost left out. My husband is a U.S. citizen and I have a strong threat of Taliban against my life. Can you please contact your sources, be it State Department or DOD, to help us get out? We are totally hopeless. The Taliban are firing rounds and scattering those like us who are willing to get out with proper documents. The Biden administration is culpable here. They are leaving Americans behind. They are doing now what we have not done in generations. We are Americans. We do not leave our citizens behind. You know, what Biden has said and what his administration has said is complete lies. You know, we have to hold them accountable. This is a crisis of credibility on the world stage. You know, he said that he decided to end this mission, that he takes responsibility, and yet he just blamed President Trump and said, you know, well, the agreement was already in place when I got there. You know, this man has absolutely just embarrassed our nation, and he needs to resign.
Congresswoman Van Duyne, I want to pick up on what Congressman Clyde is saying. I mean, one, we've left people there. There's no question about it. Two, we didn't fulfill our promises to the Afghani people who helped our military. So what message and what image do you think that we're creating around the world to our allies?
I mean, I think you're seeing it. It's a moment of weakness. You look at what's happening at the southern border. You look at what's happening in Taiwan. All of the world stage is watching this, and America's strength right now is not apparent. And we need to get that back. I would love for us to have an opportunity to be able to show our strength again, to be able to have our military be able to make these decisions, as opposed to the political spectrum with Biden, whoever else is running the show in D.C. right now. But we don't have that opportunity. And unfortunately, we're at home. We don't even have a speaker who's willing to bring us back into D.C. as these issues are unraveling around the world. We're not even in session right now to be able to discuss how we're going to respond. I think that is a complete dereliction of duty. We need to be back.
Can I ask you one quick follow-on? Yeah. I know a lot of these folks are going to Fort Bliss in Texas, your state. How concerned are you guys about any security concerns?
I mean, we're secure. We're upset about it, and we don't know what to expect. We're looking at what's happening on our southern border, where you've got hundreds of thousands of people coming over, every month illegally, and we don't know where the next steps are on that. So yeah, there is concern. There was a call this morning where it was discussed that potential, Taliban terrorists are going to be entering our country illegally. Obviously, there's a concern, and we need to address it. But we need to have military making this decision, and we need to be back in D.C. having these conversations.
Congressman, real quick, President Biden said today that we have to go where terrorism is today, not where it was 20 years ago. But we have just left the Taliban with billions of dollars worth of U.S. weaponry. Have we created almost an environment, a hotbed of an opportunity for terrorism to thrive in now Afghanistan?
Absolutely, we have. I think the Taliban and the terrorist network, and that means Al-Qaeda, ISIS-K, the Haqqani network, they are now in a better position than they were in September of 2001 because they have almost the entire of Afghanistan under their control now, and they have money and they have weapons. They have $80 billion worth of weapons and equipment that we left behind. They are now so much more powerful than they were before, and they can project that power more easily. They now have a safe space that they can regroup and rearm and reorganize. We are going to have to go back into Afghanistan at one point. This was a disastrous decision by our president and by our leadership, and we are going to pay for it for decades to come. The war on terror is not over. We have just begun a new phase of it.
Right. Exactly. Congressman Clyde, Congresswoman Van Duyne, thank you for coming on and sharing your important thoughts today. I appreciate it.